Saranya madam, can you hear? Can you hear me, ma'am?
Ma'am, your voice is not audible, ma'am. Saranya ma'am, your voice is not audible.
Ma'am, now your voice is
Saranya ma'am,
ஆடியோ மியூட் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. தன்யா மேம் உங்க ஆடியோ மியூட் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க, ஆன் பண்ணுங்க. Now you speak.
A very good morning to one and all present here. Welcome the challenges and look for the opportunities in every situation to learn and wisdom. And it is my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all on behalf of the team organizing Team CIT. With this note, let's start our FTP Day 2 Session 3. Now I request Dr. Armugha Maria Devi, one who is a simple, dynamic and systematic professor, Center for Information Technology and Engineering, Manoormaniyam Sundaranaar University. Ma'am, please.
So good morning, one and all, be here. On behalf of Center for Information Technology and Engineering, Manoormaniyam Sundaranaar University, it's my privilege to introduce the today's speaker, Dr. Syed Umar Sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice, Manoormaniyam Sundaranaar University, Tirunelveli. So he did a Doctor of Philosophy in Criminology from University of Madras in the year 2007 to 8. And also he did a Diploma in Cyber Crimes and Information Security from University of Madras in the year 2001 to 2003. And Master of Arts in Criminology and Criminal Justice Sciences from University of Madras 2000 to 2001. And also postgraduate diploma in computer applications. And also he completed a MRP project funded by UGC as a coordinator in the on the title Victimization Survey and Evaluation of Crime Victims in the Megacities of India. And also he completed minor project in the year of 2012 to 13 that is funded by MSU and University of Grants Commission. He is a life member of Indian Society of Criminology, Indian Society of Victimology, Socin Indian Society of Criminology and Victimology, and five Pillar of India, and also Federation of Anti-Corruption Teams India. Currently, he is guiding 4 PhD research scholar and guided so many MPhil scholars also. And also he 2 PhD scholars are awarded under his guidance. He published books, the title Corruption at Grassroots, People's Perception, Participation and Experiences. He published 18 papers in international journals and 13 national papers, and also peer-reviewed journals and reputed journal also. He published 18 book chapters. Now I call upon Dr. Umar Sir is going to present a lecture on cyber crimes, offenses and law. Welcome you, sir. Please, sir, I hand over the section to him. Please, sir.
Thank you,
Ma'am, 1 minute, and I would like to tell all the participants that he is our partner in offering the MSc Cybersecurity course of Manoormaniyam Sundaranaar University. Our department, together with the Department of Criminology and Criminal Justice, are offering that prestigious program. He is the lead professor handling that cyber criminology, cyber crimes related papers, and he has successfully led this program for 4 consecutive years, and it's a privilege to listen to him. Now I hand over the mic to Professor Umar.
Thank you, Professor Krishnan, our well-wisher, my fellow colleagues in the university, outside the university, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to give a presentation on an overview, or I should say, because the program is at the basic level, I'm just trying to introduce some of the concepts, because much of you will be aware of what I'm going to talk. Probably most of you should have better knowledge than me because you might be working with the information technology department. Though I'm not, I am working with the criminology department. Therefore, please bear with me if I'm somewhere going beyond my knowledge, or if I'm giving any wrong information, please let me know. Basically, we are going to see 2-3 things. Professor Krishnan, if you could co-host me, only then I can share the PowerPoint, sir.
Ma'am, Jaypriya ma'am?
Yes, sir. Sir, now you try, sir.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
you can do,
yeah.
sir. Yeah.
So to basically start with the introduction, I should say cybercrime we are talking about today is something just a tip of the iceberg. The crimes that are reported in India is very meager compared to that of actual happenings. Like other traditional crimes where victim knows that he is victimized. Whereas in cybercrime, much of the people come to know about their victimization little late, probably too late also sometimes. When I was first victimized, I came to know about it only after 3 years. Perhaps I'm not a tech savvy, but still I was used to computers. I had my computers even during 1999, 2000. When I was a student of undergraduation, I had a desktop computer. I was using computers for quite a long time, but still my victimization was not noticed. Even today, this morning, some of you should have been a victim of one of the other form of crime. Probably you may not notice it most of the time. So what happens is, before getting into cybercrime, let us dive into what is crime. Crime is basically an act which cannot be prevented from any part of the society. Throughout the world, throughout the tribes, throughout the culture, we have crime. Crime is something very common. It is a part of society. You cannot exclude crime at any point of time, anywhere. May it be a Vatican City, may it be Tirupati Devasthana, may it be a Ajmer Dargah. Everywhere crime is there, right? So according to Paul Tappen, world legally accepted definition of crime. Crime is an intentional act or omission. So it's an intentional act or omission of your responsibility committed by a person or group in violation of criminal. So criminal law generally means the major statutory law. So this includes major statutory law. For India, the major statutory law is Indian Penal Code. And we have judicial precedent. Some of the cases, some of the act of crime may not be defined in the criminal law. In that case, the courts will come up with a judicial pronouncing, which becomes a judicial precedence. Probably this is something technical, you can understand. Some of the act may not be defined by law. If an act is not defined by law, then it is not a crime. Because it is not only mere definition, it should also have punishment. So definition, then followed by punishment. If there are levels, then it should be given. The level also should be mentioned. Probably the judicial precedents are the precedents before the law is enacted. If a law has to be enacted, then there should have been some at least judicial precedent. One or the other court in the country will definitely give one judicial precedence or any case laws. So some cases, no citation comes up and sanctioned by states. State is the country by as a felony, a big crime or a small crime, misdemeanor. Here you have to note that two important concepts that we have to consider always, because Paul Tappen definition was given very, very long ago. But today we have a lot of special and local laws. So special laws are laws that are enacted and applicable throughout the country. Any special law, for example, Domestic Violence Act, Information Technology Act, all these things are special act. So which deals with these specific crime, special crimes, a crime that is not well mentioned in the criminal law. Criminal law, if it is not well mentioned, then there is a need for a special. Local laws. Local laws are applicable only to the particular state. I am talking the nation, country, state only from the perspective of Indian. So state. So state means Tamil Nadu. For example, Tamil Nadu Prevention of Ragging Act. Prevention of Eve Teasing Act. All these things are local law. It is applicable only to the soils of Tamil Nadu, not beyond that. So special law means it's a law that is applicable throughout the country. And the crime also includes only crime is a term, is an encompassed term which includes reported and unreported crime, criminal cases. This again you have to understand the difference between the reported and unreported cases. So we're going to see in the following slides what it makes us sense. So the major laws in India, Indian Penal Code. This is the statutory law of the country, the criminal law of India, Indian Penal Code, which has about 511 sections, and almost all type of crime, criminal activities are defined in this particular law. But this was enacted in 1860s. Then there was no cyber crime, nothing. So therefore, no certain parts of cyber crimes are not well defined there. So it has invited for a new law, and we have come up with the Information Technology Act 2000. Unless 2000, before 2000, if any crime has happened with computers or computer related items, then it cannot be punished because there was no law as such. So whatever the trial was happening only with the Indian Penal Code. Then Criminal Procedure Code. This is the procedural law, the mechanism, how criminal justice should function, how the arrest should be there. So first I should tell you something about Indian Penal Code. So Indian Penal Code will define an act and it will call it a crime, then followed by a punishment. So then followed by a degree. Say for example, we have hurt. Hurt is discussed in section 33. So 34 of Indian Penal Code. So this talks about general hurt. There are 326 and 329 talks about grievous and simple hurt. So what is simple hurt? What is grievous hurt? There should be some difference. So hurt is a big term, which actually talks about a big one. So therefore, what happened is, because of this, there is no mention of cyber crimes in the Indian Penal Code. We have to have a special law. So the special law is Information Technology Act 2000. Then we should know how the criminal justice functionary should function. So then we need to have a criminal procedure code, which was enacted in the year 1872, followed by a big change in 1898. This is another bigger law which talks about criminal procedure code. This is only dealing with criminal cases, not with civil matters. For civil matters, there is a specific law called Civil Procedure Code. So that we are not interested. We are interested about the Criminal Procedure Code. So this will define how police should function, how court should function, how things have to be taken up. So for example, FIR. FIR is defined in section 154 of CRPC, the Criminal Procedure Code. So this talks about the complaint by a victim or by an event evidence or by a general public also. So therefore, this is very, very important law. And the Criminal Procedure Code has not very much to do with cyber crimes, because already procedures are given. Our only thing is that we may have to add some cyber police if we introduce cyber police as such. As such, there is no cyber police. So therefore, we are not introduced the term. Otherwise, Criminal Procedure Code is a very, very beautifully designed, I should say one of the extraordinary law of the world. A law which actually is very beautifully designed, very beautifully executed. And it is not only in papers, it also in the real time. Then we have Indian Evidence Act. This talks about evidence, witnesses, etc., etc. And this is one of the important law as far as the cyber crimes are considered. Because when we talk about evidence, so until 2000, the evidence were basically only in the form of either witness or in the form of physical evidences. Now we have something called digital evidence. So of course we have updated the law, we have amended the law. However, this is very, very important because the legal procedure for submitting evidence, preserving, documenting, recording, it has to be produced before the law court, because court will always witness it. So now this is a big challenge before the judiciary, because we now have to work on updating the criminal justice system, the officials in the criminal justice system, because it is very, very outdated. Now we have to do it. And of course, special and local laws we have discussed. A special law is a central law applicable to throughout the country.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, madam.
Sir, we are not able to see the slides. The slide is only at the first slide 1. As you are
Madam.
speaking, it's not. Yes, it's not being scrolled up.
Now it's scrolled, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now it's visible,
Okay.
madam.
Yes, it's visible and it's being scrolled.
Madam, it's now visible.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
please.
you.
Okay. So what is offense? So offense is the word which we find in the laws. Much of the laws will talk about offense rather than crime. So only reported cases are considered as offense. Because only reported cases. There are two forms of cases. One is unreported, reported. Only when you report a case, then it becomes an offense, and based on which the police will start the investigation. So unreported cases will not be considered as an offense. So when we go for the national statistics of the India crime statistics of India, it is published by National Crimes Record Bureau, New Delhi, under MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. So they give you only the reported cases. They don't give you the unreported cases. Very, very difficult to understand unreported cases, because for me, if I lose something, say for example, if I lose a helmet from my bike, I'm not interested in complaining it. But for a layman, it may be a big thing. If you lose say for example, if you are losing something very vital, some people consider it lightly. They don't want to go to visit the police station. Sometimes they don't really bother about it. However, only reported cases are considered as an offense. Forms of crime: crimes against a person, crimes against property, crimes against the state, and victimless crimes. This is one of the important terms which you should have not heard, or we should say vices. What we call in criminology is vices, where there are no direct victims. Most of the time, criminal will be there, no victim will be there. So we should have four components to form a crime. First is the mens rea. We should have a guilt mind. The individual should have a guilt mind. Unless there is a guilt mind in the individual, then you cannot consider that act as a crime. So second is actus rea, which we call acting on the guilt mind. So just mere having only guilt mind cannot be punished. After which you have to actually execute the guilt mind, which is called actus rea. So you act on the particular guilt mind. Then after which this act should be defined in the law. That is another important thing. If guilt mind is there, if the action has been taken, then the law should also be uh, good enough to define the particular act. Unless then you cannot do anything. You can go to the court, you can file the case, but finally, because there is no law, you may end up in judicial precedent. Most of the time, they don't do it with judicial precedent. They try to avoid. Court try to avoid, unless it's a serious case and very notorious case, and they do it. Then the fourth thing is that you should have a victim. So when you talk about crime components, you need to have four things: guilt mind, actus rea. The second is they're acting on the guilt mind. Then you should have a law. Then you should have a victim. And offender, of course, offender should be there. Sometimes in a crime, the victim will be able to give the complaint to the police or the criminal justice, but there will be no actually accused identified or a criminal identified. That another big challenge before the court. So victimless crimes where there is no direct victim, only indirect victims will be there. For example, begging, commercial sex work, or gambling, where there is no victim at all. These are some of the victimless crimes which much of us do not consider. But normally, forms of crime, when we only talk about three forms. So I have a question to the participants. Can crime be controlled? If you're allowed to talk, you can talk. Otherwise, you can share it in chat box so that I can just have a look at it. Can crime be controlled by law?
Definitely, sir, but not completely.
Very, very good. Any other response? She was absolutely right. Any other response? Can crime be controlled? Okay, then no, it is not that law only can be done, because there are over 15,000 laws in India, but crime so far has not controlled. Crime cannot be controlled only by law. It can be controlled by the law with implementation, with the cooperation of the public, with the cooperation of the criminal justice agency, with the cooperation of the lawmakers. Well, it's a very big mistake. People understand that if a law comes, then the crime will become true. You can see among us, and among us, many people, many of us, we drive vehicle without helmets. We don't wear masks properly. We really go out without requirements, which is actually prohibited under the Epidemic Act. But still, we are doing all these things because law alone cannot do it. Only the public and the criminal justice agencies, with their cooperation, collaboration, and participation, can bring down any crime. Because why we are talking about is unlike traditional crimes, cyber crimes are little different. Cyber crimes are little different from traditional crimes. It needs a lot of inputs. Police cannot act on your victimization unless you tell them something about it. Right? So basically, what is cybercrime? Much of you will be doing. I'm just reading out the things. The good thing that I really like is the definition. When I was a student, I was taught, and I liked it. Even today, whenever I go for a presentation on cybercrimes, I used to do this. An unlawful act wherein the computer is either a tool or a target or both. This is the best definition, simple definition that I always like to tell people. And of course, cyber crimes have virtually no boundaries. A person sitting in Senegal can victimize a person in Tirunelveli. Senegal is a Western African nation. He can victimize you from Senegal to Tirunelveli. Virtually now there is a big problem because the law has a jurisdiction. Every law has a jurisdiction. So the law will be applicable only within the jurisdiction. Now the challenge comes when we talk about a person in Senegal, the criminal is in Senegal and the victim is in Tirunelveli. I go complain with the nearest police station and then I get the FIR done. So how can the individual be arrested? How can he be prosecuted? That's a big question. There are some extradition treaties and other things with some of the countries, but it's a big challenge now. Now, how will you punish a person in Senegal? So any response? Participants? Participants, any response?
Could you please repeat the question, sir?
So a person is living in Senegal, Dakar. Say for example, Dakar is the capital of Senegal. So he is victimizing a person in Tirunelveli. So the individual who is victimized goes to the police station, nearest police station, complains cybercrime. Now what will the local police station do? How can a person in Senegal be punished with the Indian Information Technology Act? This is a big question before the criminal justice system. If you have any response, I will be happy to listen to you, because I can also enhance my knowledge.
Some international laws are to be applied.
Okay. Any other response? So now I'm giving you two scenarios. Please understand, participants, please, if you are allowed to talk, please talk so that we can exchange our ideas. Now I will give you two scenarios.
Definitely.
The one scenario is that the victim has lost 1,500 rupees. The victim was cheated of 1,500 rupees. First scenario. The second scenario is that the victim is a victim of morphing in a website. Now, just tell me if police is really going to act on both the complaints, both the scenarios. Two victims, one on morphing victim, one has lost 1,500 rupees. Responses? Do you think that police will really work on this particular two complaints?
Sir, may I?
Yes, please.
Myself, Nivedita, sir. Actually, I'm doing research on cyber crime and security. And
Yes,
Jamtara is famous for fishing capital of India,
okay.
as everyone knows. And in Jamtara, this crime is cyber crime is done regularly on regular basis. Reason is simple: the towers built here are very close to each other, so police can't find cyber police station is established in Jamtara. But if someone loses 400, 500 or 1500, they don't even report, because this is not a very big amount. They think, and even if somebody report, police work, I don't think so. If police work on this, because no, actually, I have seen, actually, it will be here to have fun. This, I am also a victim of cyber crime, sir. I have
Okay.
lost 800 rupees in an online transaction. But
Okay.
I am good in handling in online transaction and etc. etc. But sometimes it happened. Wise people also fall in the cyber crime, because the terminology they use, there is a pattern they used. They can't break up. Even in Jamtara,
Great, madam.
cyber
Thank you.
to do cyber crime, there is a course of worth rupees 20,000.
So
So how?
after the class, I will talk to you. I want to attend the course. Let me see what they teach us.
No.
Okay.
Yes, it is reality, because
Okay,
the
madam.
mastermind of cybercrime, he offers 20,000 for a course.
Okay, madam. Thank you. Thank you for the information also. Right. Now, both the scenario, local police will not act because the amount is very less. Morphing is a very common crime. But the third scenario I'm going to give you, third and fourth scenario. The third scenario is that, say for example, a lead actress. Maybe if I can just, for example, I'm citing, Samantha is morphed, and Samantha is making actress Samantha is morphed with a lust picture, and she comes to know about it, and she is complaining. Third scenario. And fourth scenario is that in real time you lose a wallet which actually worth about 5,000 rupees. In both the case, what will happen? Can somebody respond? So actress Samantha, in the morphing case, she makes a complaint. Will police act on it? This is the first question. The
Yes,
second question.
surely, sir. They'll start immediately the process.
Very good, madam. Very simple response. Okay. Fourth scenario, the scenario where you lost a wallet of 5,000 rupees in a bus. Say for example, in a bus, you are traveling in a bus and you lost 5,000 rupees wallet which you had in your place, and you lost it during your bus journey. So what will happen if you go complain?
Our complaint would be lost, but actually the result would take time.
Okay, fine, very good. So if you understand the reality, that's fine, because you have to understand that the actress Samantha complaint will be taken up, whereas a person from Tirunelveli will not be taken up in a case of morphing. It depends on the individual. The rules are mended and bowed according to the individuals and the social position they have. And the second case is that in real-time crime, when you launch a complaint for 5,000 rupees, they will definitely accept it. And they will try to find the person who are the regular pickpocketers in that zone, and etc., and try to finish off the case. Mostly they will do it. But in cases of cybercrime where 1,500 rupees is lost, the cyber local police will not entertain your case very much. Because this is a real-time situation in India, because we are not yet equipped to deal with cyber crimes. Our local police are not equipped with such capacity really to work on the particular cyber crime issues for only 1,500 rupees. Loss is a loss. All the citizens of India are protected by Constitution of India. It says every citizen is protected under the Fundamental Rights Part 3 of Constitution of India. But when we approach for a smaller amount, they may not do it if you don't have a social face value. you are likely not to be attended by police in cases of cybercrime as of now. Cyberspace and cyber law should be understood. Here you have to understand that when we talk about cyberspace, it includes computers, internets, website, data, emails, network, ports, softwares, data storage devices such as hard disk, USB drive, and even electronic devices such as cell phone, ATM machines, etc. are considered as cyberspace. So here you have to understand that law governing cyberspace should be called as cyber law. So to India, it is Information Technology Act. Now here you have to understand the classification of cyber crimes. Cyber crimes against person, property, state, and society. So here we have to understand how it works off. I'm just going to give you a simple subject matter. So here the individual is targeted or his property is targeted, and in the second case against organization where firms, companies, group of individuals are targeted against state, purely cyber terrorism, or I can say darknet, cryptocurrencies, all these things comes under that. And against society at large, this is very, very common in cyber crimes. But in real time, it is not so. In real time, the world, we are not into it very much against the society at large. But in cybercrime, this is another form that is included again under the classification. So these are the crimes against the individuals. So we have to understand the harassment via email, then cyber stalking, bullying, not only cyber stalking, bullying through the internet, your social media. You can also individually also do it over the phone. So the dissemination of obscene materials to underage especially, then defamation, then unauthorized control access over computer system, which we call within brackets hacking, and indecent exposures. There are chat rooms, private chat rooms, there are private sexting chat rooms, or so many, etc., where you can see a lot of indecent exposure. Even it's not common chat rooms also, they do it. And the victim is definitely unknown how to go about it, because he has entered of his own into the chat room, but he has received an indecent exposure. What he can do? Very, very difficult situation to handle. Then email spoofing, cheating and frauds, etc. There are so many things. And one or two crimes will be repeated in the other segments also. You can just note it. This is against the individual properties. The computer vandalism, transmitting virus, net trespass, then again unauthorized access or control over the computer system. Then IPR crimes, intellectual property crimes. This alone will take at least a month to understand. Intellectual property crimes alone will take, you have to teach about, we have to attend a class about 1 month to understand what intellectual property crimes are. Maybe at an outlook, you will think that it is fine, I can understand. But it is absolutely bigger thing. And this is going to be a challenge to the world in years to come. Then internet time theft and etc. These are the things that are committed against the individual properties. We have something like against organization, we have unauthorized control, again hacking, the possession of unauthorized information. Some informations which are not supposed to be available with other people, it is available throughout the internet servers. Cyber terrorism against the organization. Cyber attacks against, I'm wrongly given that. And distribution of pirated software and etc. This is one of the biggest challenge. Much of us use pirated version of softwares, which is against the organization at large, because the sales volume. If India should have used, the Indians should have used the original Microsoft softwares in their computers and laptops. Definitely, I could say Mr. Bill Gates should have been 3 times bigger than what he is now. That is the quantum of or the volume of business he should have done in India. But unluckily, we are used to it. We are used to freebies. So it started in 1960s when we were given the PDS, public distribution system, and rations. We are very much interested in freebies. So therefore, when we get a pirated software or a copyrighted, violated software, we like to do it. We like to take it, and we are living with it. Then we are against this state. Cybercrime against the state, which is cyber terrorism. IT Act 66F talks about cyber terrorism, which is a punishment which is a crime punishable up to life. Then we have darknet. So darknet again is a big concept. Of course, every of you will know that. I have very less knowledge on it. Probably this is one of the important challenge that all the states are looking for. They don't have real response for it. Today, you can see darknets are building up like honeybee. Every day it is increasing, and nobody knows what to do with it. And cryptocurrency. This is another big challenge before the government. This is absolutely against the government. I mean, just state. Now we have against the society at large. So you can see forgeries, polluting use through indecent exposures, online games, online gambling, and trafficking in human drugs, weapons, etc. Then pornography, sales of illegal articles and artifacts, financial crimes via forgery, frauds, etc. Online games, everything. So today our Indian youths are given the phone for attending classes. Definitely every smartphone in India will have at least 2 to 3 games minimum. I'm talking about minimum. And among that, at least one game should be an online game, which actually pulls you to the other corner of the life. Because it's like during 1970s, 80s and 90s, drugs were used to make dummy humans. Same as now games are used for making dummy humans. I'm just going to give you some outline of some network or security related crimes. I'm not going to jump into it very much in detail, because if I'm going to do that, then my purpose of the presentation will be little shorter, because I have to get it over by another 1 hour. Anyway, I'm just trying to give you very glimpse of it, very important attacks, or I should say important security related crimes that actually happens in real time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, madam.
Sir, please move the slide, sir.
Yes, madam.
Okay, sir.
Okay, madam. So this is network related or security related crimes. Some of the important, I should say something which are very important for you to understand at the basic level. Of course, advanced level you can have much more details. Maybe Professor Krishnan will be arranging for you hands-on training also. But at the basic level, I'm just trying to give you some idea how security related crimes are there. So now you can see the growth of internet to an extent to which the whole internet system is well planned and executed, and it is also reached the end user. Now we are able to get internet for 200-300 rupees. Maybe even if you have say around 100 rupees, you can also access internet. What is the network security for that particular internet that we are using? And there is a big challenge before the network security providers, because ISPs, internet service providers, have this challenge how their networks can be taken up. When it comes to a public network or a private network, private networks are much more safer, because it uses channel security approach instead of common approach. So your data are transferred through the channels which are secure channels. Whereas in public network, it is not so. That's why people used to say, those people who know something about cybercrime, they used to say, don't use public networks. For example, you are using networks in railway stations or in bus stops or in a mall, where it is absolutely unsafe. And we are not away from days where if you open up your network or your internet connections or Wi-Fi connection in a public network, definitely you're going to have a very serious impact on your device. And your data is already, we are not in a very safe condition. And that will be much more big challenge for us in days to come. And information may be in the transit zone or in a physical zone, where it can be in a drive or in a transit across, or sometime in a personalized drive also. So then the security of the particular data in the drive, maybe in the memory or hard disk or on a transit, who is taking care of it, how much it is taken care, All these things are a big question, and this is the job of the internet service provider, that they have to give the confidence to the individual using the internet of their particular service. So this is one type of attack, the network packet sniffers, where of course, your communications are made into pieces, and then using network protocol, it will actually label and then transfer to the other computer or the other.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yes, madam.
Again, you are talking about network security. We are on cybercrime slide only, sir. So we are not able to see the
No, I'm
content
sorry, it's
side
not
by
moving.
side. Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
madam. Sorry, madam. Because I did
It's
not
okay,
notice
sir.
it, because I'm just opening my screen and then sitting across.
Network packet sniffers. Yes, now we are able to see.
Okay, then I will do one thing. I will just put on my slide like this. I think you can easily see that. Right. So this particular packet sniffers are people who intrude in your network. They can do that. They can actually take away one or two informations, one or two packets they want. They can damage the packets. They can rearrange. They can relabel the packets and then make the information not available to the end user. The very purpose of sending the data to some other people or to the other system is just to make it available for the reader. But packet sniffers can be used to, these people can do the damage to your mail. They will just simply rearrange the numbers and then give it to you. When you open, it will show it is unable to open. It will ask for some other software to open, some other programs to open, something like that. And this is one of the important things that even today we have this challenge, and we are actually working on it. The cyber criminals are working on it. The third party can easily implement any public network. That's a problem with it, and that's why people at high level or people with high confidence or high confidential information, they use private networks, so that the tunnel takes care of it, because it's a tunneling process that takes up the particular data from one system to the other system or network to the other network using their own private tunnels. Whereas in public tunnels, it can be easily used, because the mode which network adapter cards can send the packets is taken observed easily in the public network. Whereas in private network, it is not so, because they are using tunneling. So tunneling is just a pipeline line. So you cannot break that tunnel until your system is capable of doing it, or the individual is able to. But private networks are much safer than compared to that of a public network in matters of transferring a sensitive information. And of course, packet sniffers, they can use your accounts, names and passwords and change it also. And another simple attack, IP spoofing, an IP attack, where an outside network pretends to be a trusted computer, and either by using an IP address that is within the range of the particular host system or the external system, and then get into it, and then they can do it. And this is limited to that of injection of data or commands. And if somebody knows coding can do this job very easily. And of course, in all movies, they show a lot of hacking and other things happening very easily. And basically, this starts with the IP spoofing, because these people only can get into your network. After getting into the network, you can do wonders. Right? We have password attacks. This was basically now we have a lot of softwares to do, but there are people who can actually use the Trojan horse programs to crack your passwords. This is always a big challenge to the police, because sometimes they use the same system, and then get away from it. And there are three methods that can be used: dictionary attacks, brute force attack, and hybrid attacks. Now we have a lot of softwares, free softwares, which can be loaded into a computer. You can try to crack anybody's password in no time. If you have a strong system, you can crack your password very, very easily. That is possible at a lower cost. If you are willing to pay about $5-6, you get a good software. but it will be a one-time user. Only one password can be broken, then your $6 will go away. Whereas free softwares, which comes with virus trojans or worms, they are available for lifetime as of now. But the problem is that they will come up with some information and they will try to intrude your system in later days. Right? So distribution of sensitive internal information to the external sources. So this thing you cannot do anything about as of now, not only as of now, until there are something to do with cyber, you cannot do anything, because there is something called insider's threat, where people working within the system will do the damage. You cannot do anything. That's something very odd. Many companies have experienced this, and they also keep a watch on the particular vulnerable candidate. But still, it can be done, because technology needs few minutes, few seconds to transfer, and making available some information on public or to some other private network as such is little easy for a person who is authorized to access some information. So very, very important. Insider's threat, very, very challenging. You should have heard of these words: gray hackers, white hackers, black hat hackers, and so on. So these people, few people turn, though they look like a genuine person, they join a company, they do all the sincere efforts to develop the company, etc., etc. Also, they work for somebody else outside the system, and they also share some information to the external sources. This is a big challenge before the company. So within the company, the industry, you have to actually look at it. You cannot trust anybody in this world, because as and when things are developing, as and when human psychology is that everybody wants to develop in a shorter span of time. Everybody, including me, you, etc., etc., etc. Everybody wants the easier, shortest time to reach high places and high level, acquiring high level properties. All these things every human thinks about. So a person working as an insider, a threat is a very serious issue. Now companies are seriously looking into it, and they are using multi-level authentication for accessing certain privileged data, because privileged data remain untouched by a few of the people, and it remains touched by only few people. But now they are using multi-level authentication, so that the privileged data is accessed, then immediately the notification will be going to the person who is actually authorized to check its availability. Because in real time, say for example, if a thief comes to your home, he will take things and go. So the thing will not be there with you. It will go to somebody's hand, the thief's hand or somebody's hand. But when the digital format, you don't have to go do that. You can make a copy. You can make a copy and then you can send it. So number of copies made, number of copies moved from the system. It is now it is not going to do any damage to the original data, but the data which is required for the other side, the outsider, is already available without even damaging your data. That's the beauty of digital, because that's why Indian Evidence Act has to be amended. In traditional crime, if a thing is theft, then the property is moved from one place to the another. Whereas in digital format, it is not so. It is not so. It can be just made a copy and then send it. So this is another important serious problem that has to be think about. And middle attack. This is another type of common attack which every of you know. So these attackers have access to network packets, and I come across the networks, and they will try to take away the information and then replace it and send it. Your message may reach little delayed. Sometimes some of the messages may not be able to reopen, because when the person who is taking away the information, he may damage that particular packet without his knowledge. In that case, even after rearranging and relabeling, while reaching in the other end, it may not be able to open. The data may not be able to open, and it may not be available to the end user. Right. So frauds on internet, it's a very serious problem. fraud has become an order of the day in internet. At least I get 1 or 2 messages every day on a fraudulent thing. They're trying to actually invite me to buy or spend some money, time, or etc. in some of the other thing. Because now frequently when we search for materials in internet on frauds, internet frauds, for example, or forgery, then your data scientist, the data analyst, who actually handles my data not in particular, in group, he thinks that I am actually looking for something to do some frauds. So I am actually, the artificial intelligence actually books my name under frauds. So whenever something to do with fraud, then immediately it sends me an spam message, spam mails. At least I receive few mails a day, 1 or 2 mails at least. The artificial intelligence and data sciences, some intelligent people will come and handle with you. These particular 2 areas are going to rule the world in days to come: artificial intelligence and data science, because the business is started. Your garments, for example. So what you bring for Diwali is actually based on the most searched colors. The data scientists give you the list of colors. Based on the particular color, your garments are made very much. And then it becomes a trend also. Now we are making it. Data scientists are making the world to believe that this is the fashion today. Not much they can do. But it was not there in India at least until 2016. Before which until 2015, it was mostly handled by Eastern European countries, and in Asia, we had only one country handling this, Israel. But in Western world, there were a lot of other countries. For example, Estonia was doing that. Then in Africa, for example, Niger was doing it. Like that, some countries were doing this data analytic work. Now it is open to the world. Now everybody is doing. Even in our department, we have a course on data science. CIT. So that much is that data science has developed. And anything to do with fraud, it is based on your using your internet using. So these are some other forms, like online investment newsletters. And we have something like email scams. Then we have bulletin boards. Now these are some of the very common things that we come across in our daily life. So credit card frauds. Among all the frauds, credit card frauds remains very, very important. And it is also predominant. Everywhere. Somebody was just before, few minutes before sharing that I lost 800 rupees in a credit transaction. So where the money goes? Our banker is supplying the money to somebody's account. But it is not easy for you to trace what happened. And unless the amount is very big, we are not really interested in complaining also. Even the candidate who was sharing was not also interested in sharing the complaint to the police. And credit card frauds will be a big challenge. There were days that credit card was a big challenge. Now credit cards are available to everybody very, very easily. But the challenge remains is that how to securely use it, especially when you are using online. Very, very important. Once your CCV number is made, then you are into a very, very, very difficult time. And now the bankers are also thinking about making a new CCV number, big series, not in 3 digits, 1 digits at least, which will take at least half a day to crack it. That much they are doing. Alphanumeric also they are planning for. I don't know what's going to happen in future, but they are very seriously working on it. Bankers. Now, alteration and destruction of digital information. This is another serious problem, as that of corruption in India, corruption in real time. Everywhere, the destruction, alterations are happening. The only place where we are used to is Wikipedia, where you can alter your data, your available data on your own. But now every company's information, secrets, advertisements, formulas are changed, and it is challenged. Therefore, this is another important serious issue that has to be attended. Trafficking is something very simple technique. Everybody will be knowing that. Now we have the internet time theft. You can see sometime in your data, when you're using data, suddenly it shows that your 50% is gone, 90% is gone. Then you have to understand how your data are taken up, where it goes. Of course, you have an place in your phone itself. You can check what are the data levels you have used in what are the different applications. Sometimes unknowingly, you should have not even opened your YouTube or something like that, but your data is gone. Somebody else will be that's using the pre-keying technique. The phishing, much of you will be knowing. So I'm just skipping over some of the things. No, it is actually making things trustworthy and then masquerade. This is another important serious problem, but this at least is now taken very seriously by law. Cyber squatting, giving a domain name in a different way. Say, for example, www.mcdonald.com is given as mcdonalds.com. So such things will be there, and it's important thing. And denial of services. We have a new extension, distributed denial of services, where your system will become a zombie. So this is another important problem for your system, because your system will be clocked. So it will be clocked. The system will be slowed. It will be unable to perform multitask. Such times you have to be very careful. That's why we always advise, at least if you are not using original softwares, at least use original antiviruses. If you are able to bring in a little more advanced or one combinations, for example, Microsoft Essentials and Quick Heal or K7, together you use them, it is little much more better. Now days are going that a few years after, when you open your system, you are likely to really damage it, or you are likely to really be intruded by somebody else. And other frauds like very simple war dialing, logical bombs, dumpster driving. Normally, when we use emails or any other data, we delete our files just like that. We really don't take serious concern about. So, for example, your CV is there, your photographs are there. Then you have to be very careful. You can use this formula. You can use shift and then delete it, so that it is removed at least from your recycle bin. But it is available. Data is available very much. But at least it is not there, because most of the people who are intruding your system, when they are unable to access some of the important documents, they try to take the copy or a trial version or a pre-finalized draft of the particular information they are looking for. And this can be done from your recycle bin, or it can be done from your temporary files. So which can be taken away, and then it can be used. It's like, I am telling you, you are not going to really go into that deleted file and then check for it, whether somebody is copied, whether somebody is taken it, somebody has entered your system. You are not interested in it. We have buffer overflows, right? Now we are going to, these are some of the basic concepts that I just thought like I will just add a word and then skip to the things. Now we are going to talk about law. What law has for us. So law has very potentially that law are some set of rules of conduct. It is approved by government. It is enforced in certain territory. Then it is expected that everybody obeys it, or any violation will attract punishment, either fine or imprisonment. Right? In cyber law, the cyber law is designed to govern the cyberspace. So what we have in our IT Act 2000 is that we have cyber crimes. Some of the crimes are defined and punishments are given. Then electronic commerce. Then we have intellectual property, in as much as it applies to the cyberspace, not to the common things. Then data protection, security, and privacy. Also, its violation and punishments. We're going to see some example in the later slide that how the traditional law is different from IT Act. Ultimately, all these ultimately the law is aimed at maintaining CIA of the information or data, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Very, very important. Of course, all the information security professionals are trained only for this particular purpose, and your law also talks about it. But still, CIA of our informations are under the threat all the time when you are online. So what happened? when the Indian Cyber Law, the Indian Information Technology Act was enacted in 2000. So see what are the changes happened. We had a very major big 15 changes. The first is that it came into force in 2000, then Indian Penal Code was amended. So Indian Penal Code 1860 was amended, then Indian Evidence Act 1872 was amended, then Bankers Book Evidence Act 1879 was amended, Reserve Bank of India Act 1934 was amended. Then of course, these are the rules that came into force immediately after the enactment of the law. Certifying authority, then tribunals, appellate tribunals. Then these are the things that has happened over the years. So for example, in 2003, information technology qualification and experience of adjudicating officer and manner of holding inquiry rules was passed in 2003. Then 2004, then use of electronic information and digital signature rules 2004. It provides a legal framework for filing the documents with government and issues of license by the government. Then 2006, the last was 2021 February. The Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021 was passed. So in between 2000 and 2021, so only in 3 years we have not touched any information technology related rules or regulations were enacted, neither enacted nor amended. 2005, 2008 and 2014. So all the years, 21 years, we have considered a big change. We have been moving from here to here, there to there, here to here, right? So you can see the developments, very important developments. Say, for example, the Payment and Settlement System Act 2007. Very important. The Payment and Settlement Systems Regulations 2008. Then identifying verification guidelines. Then we have National Security Policy 2013. There you can see the important mobile banking transaction in India, customer registration for mobile banking, mobile banking tech transaction in India, operative guidelines for banks. So everything was updated. So accordingly, when the things are updated, you have to understand that the prominence is given to the information technology. And we are really unable to be very frank, I should say this, because as a criminologist, I have understood some system in a different way than what the other gentlemen have understood. We are unable to really match the requirements and the rules, regulations, and the crime and its fastness. And we say, and the cyber crimes are fostering like anything, but we are unable to really match the speed at which they are moving. And we are also unable to really create the manpower. Manpower is another important challenge before the court. Manpower is a challenge before the law enforcement, police people. The public prosecutor, for example, public prosecutor, how will he know something about cyber crimes? He has to be given training on that. Yeah, when we go for training, they ask us so many basic questions. So we are asked to give training on some of the basic aspects of the cyber crime. Then they are asking silly questions and basic thing. They are public prosecutor. They say we know only law. We do not know the technology. So there is a need for including technology and law, or mingling technology and law, or some of the courses were tried. For example, MTech in cyber crimes from national law universities, MTech in cyber laws, like that they tried it, but everything is come down because technical people are not concerned, not interested about any law. Because law people are least concerned about the technology. And there they joined criminal gangs, not the good one, not the government jobs or anything else. Because illegal business, criminal business will give you more money than the government business. So this gentleman who is actually appointed in a police, say for example, a DSP is appointed, and he is in charge of the cybercrime wing. If he works in a corporate, he will be given 5-6 lakh rupees, but he will be hardly taking 75,000 rupees in the government system, which nobody likes it. Much of us will not like it. Well, being in police service is different from being in a private service. Private service will fetch you a big money. Your updation will go head on head, but whereas in police service it is very difficult for going head on head, and your salary is very less. Who will come to this pay field? And that's a big challenge before the government. Then just to compare, I'm just trying to compare two important crime, one from the um, Information Technology Act and one from the real time. So for the punishment for transmitting or publishing any material in the electronic means, according to Information Technology Act, the minimum imprisonment is 5 years and a fine up to 1 lakh rupees. On first conviction. On second conviction, it is 10,000 rupees and 2 lakh rupees subsequently. You have to understand the same thing happens in real time. Section 378 of Indian Penal Code. It talks about whoever intending to take dishonestly move any movable property out of the possession of any person without that person concerned is only punished for 3 years. With or fine, with or both. You have to understand digital format is 5 years and 1 lakh rupees fine. Here, mostly this will 378 will end up in only 3 years of imprisonment maximum. If it's a very, very hard case, then they may fine about 10,000 rupees. Whereas Information Technology Act is much more severe than compared to the traditional law. But this is not going to bring any threat to the criminals, because they will still crow in crores, and for punishment in lakh rupees, they will happily pay the fine and get away. Sometimes only fine are given, sometimes leave it, sometimes imprisonment and punishment are given. In that case only it has to be done. Here you can see no or. In Information Technology Act, no or, see here, and. Whereas here you can see here, or. So that's the latest amendment of Information Technology Act during I think 2019. The key concept: access, computer, data, computer system, computer networks, everything is discussed in 2.1.2.1I.2.1 like that. Because section 2 is very, very important in Information Technology Act. If you go through it and if you are able to understand the terminology that is used in the law, then I think Information Technology Act can be easily accessed by you. Because there is a limitations. Unlike data means, they will say what is the data. They define data in legal terms. So unless data is defined, you understand data from the legal term, it is very difficult for us to really go to the next level. Now here, these are the list of offences and the corresponding offences according to Information Technology Act. So 43A talks about data protection at corporate level. The 65 talks about tampering with computer source document. So see the punishment here: imprisonment up to 3 years or and with fine up to 2 lakh rupees. So you have to understand. And or the tampering computer source document, the hacking with computer system, 5 lakh rupees fine, maximum 3 years. So most of the time, as of now, the real-time condition that hacking, if it is committed, mostly they will try to only give you 2 years and they will try to give you fine up to 1 lakh rupees. So this is the amount given here is the maximum. And receiving stolen computer or communicative devices, 3 and 1 lakh rupees. Using password of another person, section 66A. Because 66 very, very important section, because 5 different crimes are very much defined here. Using password of another person, you can see here. Then cheating using computer resources. So the 3 years or punishment up to the penalty up to 1 lakh rupees. Then 66C, publishing private images of others. So this is another important serious problem. This is going to be a big challenge before the criminal justice system in days to come. There are so many social medias where you can see all our friends, some of our friends. Most of our friends have good pictures, photographs, their home visits, their holiday photographs in that. And if it is misrepresented or it is published in somewhere else, where if it is marked for some reason, then it's a very serious business, because there are crores and crores of photographs available in social medias. So if people start complaining about it, then definitely our criminal justice system will be of big pressure. an act of cyber terrorism. This is the only act, this is the only law section where the punishment is life. So act of cyber terrorism, punishment is life imprisonment. So 67A, publishing information which is obscene in electronic form. So 5 years, you can see here 5 years. Here when you read 67, you will understand it has different levels also. Children and then adolescents and then you go with adults. So all these things has to be noted. 67A, publishing images containing sexual acts. And I think in days to come, if these laws are going to be serious, taken up very seriously, then I think YouTube like channels will not be available. Or we may have to develop a very big restriction on YouTube, saying that what we have done with WhatsApp. Same as we have to have something with YouTube. YouTube have enough materials, sexual materials, pornographic material that can actually
Yes, sir.
spoil the
That's a
individuals.
very good initiative required at the earliest.
Of course, madam, do a paper on it, publish it, send it to the Ministry of Home Affairs. They will try to consider your publication.
Everything is available on YouTube.
Yes, madam. That's what. Probably we may go for a very big restriction in days to come. In our university, we have a firewall where if you type sex, the word sex, then the server will not take you to the search point because
That would be very good.
And now we are trying to do a research on sexual crimes. Say for example, in that case we are in trouble. We are unable to do it. We have to come to our home and then we have to work on it. Like that, some restrictions will bring some disturbance to our users, and again has to be taken up. Then 67B, publishing child pronouns or predating children online. So this is another serious problem. After I think the COVID situations are normal, I think all parents will avoid giving cell phone to the children. But this will be a great fight between the children and the parents. And definitely we are going to see a lot of problems arising out of it, including some of the violent crimes. I'm very sure this will happen in days to come. Probably from January 2022, we can expect such crimes. Crimes out between the children or the neighbors out of giving lesser the mobile phones. Last 2 years, we have, the last 1.5 years, we have given children the phone, the access to phone. And they have been used to it and they are addicted to it. They are often living with that. Therefore, every day 2, 3, 5 hours they with the mobile phones. In that case, after 2022, when the schools are reopening on a regular basis, our students will have a lot of problems. Then 67C, the failure to maintain records. Then 68, failure, refusal to comply with orders. So orders that are given accordingly, it has to be taken up. The 69, failure, refusal to decrypt data. So imprisonment up to 7 years and possibly fine also. Though the amount is not mentioned, the law is serious because they don't know how much it can be fined. So however they wanted to give this word, possible fine means judge can decide on how much to be done. Then list of offences, continuing with 70, 71, 72, 72A. Disclosure of information in breach of lawful contract. This is another serious problem. We were talking about insider's threat. This is the place where insider's threats will be taken up. Then the publication of for fraudulent purposes. This is another serious problem which we are going to see. Probably a few cases are already booked, especially in West Bengal and in Delhi. I think this is going to really, the judgments are going to make really a serious sense about it. Publication for fraudulent purpose. Very, very important thing. Because here you have to understand who is doing that. That the individual is doing it or somebody else is doing it. That has to be understood. That's why I say Section 74 will be a serious problem in days to come. Then in Indian Evidence Act, we have 7, 8 important sections which we should know. So here Section 3 talks about evidence, then 17 talks about admission. Admission of the evidences, maybe in oral, documentary, electronic forms, which, because you have to understand, a judge will read BBA, BL, and then become a judge. He may not be a tech savvy. how will he understand the documentary evidence, electronic form? He has to be given training on it. Now they have to really make cyber codes where judges have cyber knowledge. So as a computer science engineer or an MCA graduate or an MSc information technology man who has completed an ML or BL and then become a judge, he has to be given only the particular job of looking into cyber crime cases. You cannot expect a BA history gentleman after which he has completed a BL, then becoming a judge and listening to your tech savvy matters. The result will be definitely an aptitude 0. And this is happening in real time in courts. Many people really struggle with it. The law clearly says you can accept what can be admitted, because judge will finalize what should be admitted in the court of law. So 22A talks about oral admission as to content of electronic records. So electronic form, but orally also somebody, the expert should give an opinion. Then 34 talks about entry books, electronic entry books. For example, from our system, we can say log registry or event registry, which can be produced before the court using Section 34 of Indian Evidence Act. And 35 talks about the entries, courts, official book, registries, accords, etc. Then we have 39, what in evidence? Conversations. So when we talk about conversation in social media or between two individuals or a WhatsApp, all things to be taken up only through this particular section. 45A, opinion of the examiner of electronic evidence. Very, very important. Then 47A, opinion of electronic signature, wherever relevant. Then 59, the content of the document. The content of the document, say for example, in physical, we can, a thief is stealing something and then stealing something and it is produced before the court. Court will have a look at the knife or say the object, for example, object. But in electronic form, you have to convince the judge. The presenter, prosecutor has to convince the judge that this is the fact. So for which prosecutors should have the substantive knowledge in parallel to that of the judge. Right. The last part of our presentation, 67A. So proof of digital evidence, and 65B, sorry, the order is derailed. Then we have 81A, 85A. Presumption as electronic agreement. A very, very important thing. This alone, we can have a class for at least 3-4 days. Presumption as to electronic agreements. So everything you do with the electronic things has agreements. So you should have seen when you have logged in on WhatsApp, when you have used your email, first time you should have asked for an agreement. So you will finally say, tick mark, I agree to the terms and conditions of WhatsApp, I agree to the terms and conditions of the email, Google or something like that. So such things are agreement, though it is not, you should have not read very thoroughly, but still it retains, it remains in the law. As far as the law is concerned, you are actually accepted it. The 90A, presumption as to electronic records, 5 years old. Very, very important, 5 years old, because the hash value can be changed at point. And to understand that hash value record changing, very difficult. But anyhow, our lawmakers are a little brilliant. They have added 90A because 90 talks about presumption of electronic evidence records. But the 98 talks about 5 years old. So 5 years, hash value changed, 5 years old. Now you have to understand whether the hash value can be replaced and done with it. And it needs a very big expert team to work on it. And 131, production. You have to produce before the court of law the possession and other things. So the last slide is a very much expected slide. So cyber crimes are not just an event, it is an order of the day. So it will continue. It will continue to really crack, break and make loose us very much. So at least by 2025, we may require a huge manpower, experts to deal with cybercrime. This is my hunch after reading cybercrimes for last 12-13 years. I should say this, that by next 4-5 years, definitely we are going to have a big challenge. And that's why the government is spending a lot of money in actually training the trainers. So you are all the trainers. So you will train some certain group of people. So that's why they are spending a lot of huge money in doing this. and we have to strengthen the law enforcement and executives. I told you the police are not really aware of it, what damage a thing can do. And really the public prosecutor and the judges are on the same track. We need a big criminal justice system. Cyber police, cyber public prosecutor, cyber judge. Only with that, in 2025, we can really be able to handle these matters. Otherwise, it will be a big challenge, and definitely already, the criminal justice system is under big chaos, and it will continue, which I think will be a big challenge. I think in that matters, when time comes, people like you, people like Professor Krishnan, people like Professor Jaipriya, Arumugamari, they will be in big demand because they are the person who have to talk about cybercrime to the individual, the judges, the law enforcement officers, executives, and we will update them on the real-time procedures. And technical side, they will take care. Legal side, we will take care. On the procedure side also, we will take care. Because there is another important thing, the victim. The common man has to be trained. The common man has to be informed of what's happening in the world and how you have to protect your system and other things. Why? Because everybody is protected by Constitution of India. Any victimization happens to be, government is actually responsible. Because we are all protected. That's why we have a public prosecution system. So public prosecution comes in favor of government, in favor of the victim, because everybody is protected by the Constitution of India. So we need to protect, secure, maintain privacy of data, which will be huge data and huge task force. Because the data is huge. Now the protection, securing and maintaining privacy of the data, CIA of the data is absolutely a big challenge before the information security specialist, data protection specialist, data scientist, data analyst, and the criminal justice system. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. It's time for participants. If you have any queries, kindly type it on chat box or you unmute your mic and ask. Participants?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, madam, please go ahead.
You quoted one point that our children are playing games and they are taking them in different part of the world. They are being taken in different corner of the world. So I think like you are contacted with the government and the ministry. So these games should be abolished or banned as per the government laws when they are taking them into different corner of the world.
Yes, madam. Madam, we have a free agreement, madam. After 1996, when globalization started, our government, by knowingly or unknowingly, they have actually signed a lot of agreements with a lot of countries.
But it should not have been done, actually, because
no, it is done, madam. Done cannot be undone until obviously, madam. Obviously, there is no doubt about it. Of course, we are writing a lot of letters. We are organizing a lot of conferences. We are writing a lot of articles. But still, I told you at the end of the program, at the end of the lecture, that we are still looking into the tip of the iceberg. We have not even seen the quarter of it. We are just still in the tip of the iceberg. So we need to really work very, very much in this particular area so that we are going to the next level.
Okay. Fine.
That's a good observation, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam. Good morning, sir.
Sir, I'm Sasi Kumar. First of all, I really appreciate you, the nice presentation. And also, my question is, where I get the crime data? Is there any specific?
Yes, sir. You can go. Yes, sir. You can go to the Google. Just type Crimes in India report.
Crimes India report.
Report. The latest was 2019, not even 20. Yeah, 19 is the latest report.
India, sir,
Crimes in India report.
Crimes in India report.
2019, the latest one.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Hello, sir. Actually, the presentation slides were stuck.
it will be very honored for me if you give your email address to me so that I can have access of that this presentation, sir.
I think
Because
Professor Krishnan will
because
share you.
okay, because this is
Other-
very important for me, because this is the whole physical aspect of cyber crime and security. So it would be very useful for me for my research. So please, sir, check it out.
Madam, I'm just sharing you, madam, my email. Please
Ma'am,
have a
this
look at.
whole, excuse me, Professor, on
Yes, sir.
this whole presentation schedule of this FDP will be available in YouTube, and the Airtel FDP classroom, you'll be a member perennially. So you can access from both sides.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Naveen Kumar Singh from West Bengal. I would like to ask you one question, sir. Being in school up till +2, we are conducting the online classes with various platforms that are video meet platforms like Meet or Zoom. And I have encountered a few questions from parents that आप लोग अगर ये ईमेल आईडी मेरा इसमें ऐड कर रहे हैं, हमसे ईमेल आईडी ले रहे हैं, हमसे फ़ोन नंबर ले रहे हैं, तो ये डाटा कितना सिक्योर है, कितना जहाँ पर भी आप इसको यूज़ करेंगे वहाँ का सिक्योरिटी का क्या इश्यूज है. Few parents queried in that way. So we are depending very much upon the security issues or the security mechanism whatever created by Google Meet or the bigger pictures company, those who are too much advantageous in this pandemic situation, sir. So, sir, just the final question is this: that is our data secured? What the concern the parents was?
Sir, I should quote you something about data breach in Pentagon, data breach in NASA, data breach in KGB, CBI, FBI, WikiLeaks. There is no assurity for your data to have a security. Maybe your data may go unnoticed because of our unimportance. Otherwise, no data is secure in this world. When Pentagon data are broken, when NASA data are accessed, then I think there is no point in asking this question. Our data can go unnoticed. Yeah, criminals may not like, because my face is not good. My people, this fellow is looking like a dummy fellow. Why should we access his data? Like that only our data will be escaped. I think I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is concerned of a parent, sir, which is quite natural.
You can tell them the same response.
Yes, sir, I have responded in the same way.
Maybe like photographs you can avoid. No, photographs. Probably girls' photographs, they can avoid. That's the only thing we can exempt.
Yes, we are taking care of that, avoiding the DPs and all, so that it will be, we are making them educate, even the parents. The pandemic situation bought such parents that they don't know even how to use the smartphone, even if they are having for the last 2 or 3 years. So that's
exactly, sir. Now we can learn from our children. Mr. Nizam has raised hand. Mr. Nizam, you have anything to ask?
Excuse me, sir. One more question in chat box, sir. Can we make a keyboard as a blocker in parental controls in mobile phones?
Keyboard blockers? They can control the whole phone.
In parental controls in mobile phones.
It's possible, madam.
Okay, sir.
It's possible. Somebody was raising their hand, Mr. Nizam, I think. Nizam, do you have anything to ask?
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, madam, please.
You quoted.
Sir, nothing, sir. Nothing, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Sir, you quoted a word, email spoofing and denial of service. Could you please explain?
Madam, this is a very simple concept, madam. If you read that particular slide, you will be able to really go through it. To be very simple, that IP spoofing is something that the individual comes to a computer as if a trusted computer. They carry some IP numbers, which looks like an really a original no, genuine user like. But your public domain does not have any distinction in accepting it. If you pretend to be good, then it is like people coming to marriages. Not all the people will be invited. So few intruders will come, few outsiders will come. We will not be able to really question them. Same as IP spoofing is a technique where people come as if a trusted person, then enter your system, ask you another, do the damage they want, and then get away. Mostly they try to actually access to your data, check if you have anything very important. If there are some important documents, some proposals, then some presentation papers, they may take away and then leave. I'm talking about the common man system.
So probably, is it done through email only?
It is mostly through the access is through the email, or you can use this zombies, madam. If your system becomes a part of DDoS attack, once upon a time done by somebody, there will be a gate open always. Using that, they can enter your system. But you should be online.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, on behalf of team organizing team CAT, once again, thank you so much, sir. Your deliverance was very informative and enlightening us. I hope all the participants will agree the same. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, one and all, and I thank Professor Krishnan and his team for doing a wonderful job. I think he cannot stop now. He will have to continue for next 5-6 years such programs to all the teachers. Probably after which he has to train the PG students and the undergraduate students. Later, at last, we will even go to the school students. Thank you and all the best to one and all.
Yes, instructions to participants. Dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form. It will be available from 11:30 in Google Classroom. Please kindly fill it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Professor. Thank you very much.